To tonight's Money in the Bank. Wade, I know you're a little bit heated about what transpired tonight. We're going to get to all of that, but my goodness, we have layers on layers on layers to this. I am Jackie Redmond, joined by Big E and Wade Barrett. We will break down everything. 2 briefcases were won. One was unsuccessfully cashed in. The Intercontinental Championship was retained by Sami Zayn. Damian Priest remains our World Heavyweight Champion, and Tiffany Stratton is Miss Money in the Bank. But let's start with what we just saw. The new quote-unquote tribal chief, Solo Sikoa, pins Cody Rhodes, of all people. Your reaction?
I mean, that's how you make a statement. That's how you do it. If you want to be proclaimed as the head of the table, you beat Cody Rhodes. You beat our world champion. And Solo did that. Look, Jacob Fatu is a problem. I'm sorry. You know, the Bloodline did their thing tonight, obviously, but Jacob Fatu, seeing how nimble this man is, how athletic he is, I can't say we've seen anything quite like him in quite a while. With that weapon on the Bloodline's team, he is a problem.
Yeah, I'll tell you this about the new Bloodline. They've been dangerous, threatening. They've caused chaos everywhere they've gone. Tonight was a different story because tonight was real battle conditions against 3 of the best we've ever had in WWE, and they killed it.
I'll tell you what, Jacob Fatu, you're right. He is a bad, very dangerous man. It should probably be noted that as soon as this press conference goes live, we will bring you to it. You will hear from Paul Triple H Levesque. You will hear from John Cena. You will hear from one CM Punk who showed up tonight, and the new Miss Money in the Bank, Tiffany Stratton, will also address the media. We will take you there as soon as it is live. For now, though, guys, I can't believe I'm saying this, but we actually have Solo Sikoa, fresh off of pinning the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, joining us live here on the Money in the Bank post-show. Solo, we were just talking about the man standing behind you, Jacob Fatu. How crucial was he to this victory for you in the Bloodline?
How about this? Acknowledge me.
Wasn't quite the interview I was hoping for.
Hey, you're braver than me. I'm acknowledging the man. I'll do whatever that man tells me to do.
Listen, I don't want to stir the pot, but I only know one tribal chief.
Look, I mean, it's.
I said what I said, Big E.
A tremendous win for Solo and the Bloodline tonight, but you don't have the resume that Roman Reigns has. To call yourself the tribal chief, the head of the table, that Roman Reigns has put in work for a long time here in WWE. He has earned that. Salute to Solo. He and the Bloodline are clearly gunning for all the top titles here in WWE, but Roman earned that title.
Yeah, I'll tell you this about Roman Reigns. We heard a couple of weeks ago, Roman Reigns is not coming back.
Where'd you hear that from, though?
Solo Sikoa.
Yeah,
not from anyone official,
right? Yeah.
Well, there's not been a reaction, has there? Would you want to come back and deal with this? I mean, maybe time just moves on. I mean, Roman Reigns right up there with the greatest in history of this entire industry. I'll never take anything away from Roman. Massive loss to the industry if he's done, but right now it's about Solo Sikoa and the rest of the Bloodline. And I'll tell you this might be better than anything Roman Reigns and his version of the Bloodline ever created. I'm not scared of it. Yes! Did you just witness that? You saw what I saw. This is a terrifying unit.
They are definitely terrifying, but I think they have a long way to go before we can put them on the same level as Roman Reigns, no?
It's a bit of recency bias, I think. Look, and I can assure you one thing, Roman Reigns is not, I've known him since about 2010, he's not going out like that. This is not the end of Roman Reigns. Solo can say what he wants, and I will take my hat off to him. This is not the end of Roman Reigns.
Father Time gets us all, first of all. Secondly, Roman Reigns has achieved everything. He is, I'm sure, got millions and millions in the bank. He doesn't need to do this, and the motivation when you're in that position is very different than when you're a young man trying to win big things.
Well, then let me ask you guys this, right? Because Solo Sikoa and this version of the Bloodline just beat a team of Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton. I mean, what does that do in terms of their quote-unquote street cred, I guess?
It's a lot of great momentum, but look, once again, we have an issue with the referee being down. We have another member of the Bloodline. It's what we typically have seen once again with the Bloodline. Yeah.
All right, well, lots to talk about certainly here. Certainly, let's turn it over to the men who called tonight's action, Michael Cole and Corey Graves, with their thoughts, guys. What a night.
You know, this right here, this shows you exactly what this night was all about. From the Money in the Bank contract ladder matches to that massacre by the Bloodline moments ago to everything that's transpired tonight. I mean, it was just absolutely incredible. CM Punk, I'm still shocked at what happened there. I'm shocked at what Jacob Fatu did, what Solo Sikoa did. I mean, an amazing
I just want to talk about the energy or lack thereof inside of Scotiabank Arena right now. All night, red hot, all weekend. I mean, we still got NXT Heatwave tomorrow night in this same building. WWE's taken over the city. Toronto have been incredible hosts. But that was absolute madness. We just saw the face of WWE, Cody Rhodes, our undisputed WWE champion, pinned in the middle of the ring by Solo Sikoa, the new self-proclaimed head of the table. That means big things on SmackDown and WWE.
Of course, because he promises to take the title back to the Bloodline. Now, what's going to happen Monday night on Raw? We're over in Ottawa in 48 hours. You've got Drew McIntyre, who got screwed again by CM Punk. Seth Rollins is now collateral damage in all this. Where does this go? I mean, it's going to be insanity come Monday night.
Yeah, very rarely do you leave a PLE with more questions than answers, but that's the case tonight. Who's Tiffany Stratton going to be targeting with her Money in the Bank contract? It's been nuts. It's been wild. I've called 2 SmackDowns, a Raw, a PLE. God, I got no voice left. I got a 102-degree temperature, but hey, there's nowhere else I'd rather be.
Well, you know what? Let's head back to Jackie in the panel and get ready for that press conference. I can't wait to hear what John Cena has to say.
Yeah, there's certainly no shortage of topics following Money in the Bank here at Scotiabank Arena in Toronto. I got to get your thoughts, Wade, on Drew McIntyre getting screwed once again. I mean, he cannot escape this at this point.
Take a breath first. Take a breath.
No, my thought. Okay, I hit a 10 last time we had this conversation 3 weeks ago in Glasgow. I'm at 3 right now, and I'm desperately trying to not get to a 4, because if I get to a 4, I'm getting fired, okay? I said a lot of things last
Drew.
I know you're in the building. I know you're still in this building. You're going to get out of here, and you're going to run your mouth. So get out here.
Drew, can I get your thoughts on it?
Drew, relax.
We need more.
I want you right now. I know you. Trust me. I know where your family lives. If you want to do what you do, you do your.
We need more help. More help.
I'm getting a pissed temper. I'm getting a pissed. Listen to me. You leave again, and your career is over. And then you never get in Punk. Back up. Drew. Get out of here. Drew, we're out.
Okay. We need more help out here. Okay. Biggie. I don't know. We're going to get things under control here. All I know is I'm being told the press conference is getting underway with John Cena. Here's John Cena.
Wait for the universal signal to say we're officially started. I don't want your questions to fall on deaf ears. Looks like a red light's on, so I can assume someone's watching. First of all, thank everybody for being here tonight. And you have questions, and hopefully I'll be able to provide you with some answers. I say let's get started. Do I call on you? Is it just a shouting match until someone's heard? Okay, right on. All right.
Hey, John. They always say no one's ever bigger than the business. You transitioned to be the face of the company when they went to the PG era, coming out of the Attitude era. What did that mean to you? And when you look back now, with the end near, what do you think your legacy is?
So a lot there. First of all, I'd like to meet this day because I agree with that sentiment that no one person is bigger than the entity. WWE is filled with stories, right? And it's constantly a program of stories ending and new stories beginning. I've never been too concerned. I've never been too concerned with the word legacy. And I don't want you to mix messages here. It doesn't mean I shortchange any second on the canvas. I wish I could do it infinitely. But I just, now I just wanted to try to do something special for a globe of people that I owe everything to. And And I think this is hopefully the best way to do it. Yeah. Anybody else?
Hey, John.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you as well. Chris Van Vliet with Insight. You've talked a lot about retirement. Why is 2025 the right time for you to finally retire?
That's a good question. I think the answer is because it's not up to me. Again, I approached the WWE with this idea, and they kind of initiated the talks that this would be a great span of time if we were ever going to do it. Gosh, and this is no thanks to me, but the business is at incredible heights of popularity and awareness. There are some really big things going on, especially the Netflix debut, which is very important. And I take pride in still being an individual that they, and this time I mean the WWE is the they, can call up and say, hey, remember that idea you were talking about? We think the time is now. So that really warmed my heart, that not only did my thought resonate of let's do something that we can bring all of us together, where all of us can bond and have excitement, and they will write the stories and we'll execute the best we can. But I'm flattered that I was asked to be a part of something like this. Sure. You just keep firing them away. We'll try our best.
Hi, John.
Yep.
Nice to see you. The last time that we saw you was at WrestleMania. You came face to face with The Rock.
Yeah.
Seems like there's some unfinished business there. Just wanted to know if you had an idea of who your final opponent would be. Do you think that you and The Rock will have one final dance, or would you like to face someone else that you haven't faced yet from the past or the present?
Great question. There's always unfinished business in the WWE, which probably makes this announcement extremely surprising because I'm trying to close up shop here. I don't and have never put much stock in expectations that are beyond my control. And I've tried to lead an existence where I can control what I can, and I am in no position to handpick opponents. I've always had a wonderful time challenging myself, telling stories with whatever hand I was dealt. So I think that's part of the allure and part of the excitement of what we're about to embark on, is the stories we can tell, and hopefully who's gonna show up. We'll see.
Emily May. So you are officially retiring from in-ring competition,
Sure.
which
Yep.
shocked the WWE universe. What advice do you want to pass on to the rest of the WWE superstars that will continue to work beyond the work that you're doing?
Oh, well, thank you. That's very kind of you to ask. What advice would I pass on? Remember how bad you wanted the job in the first place. You're only as good as your next match. And at all costs, try to lead into humility, empathy, and kindness. One more question? No, come on. I said I'd answer all questions. Kasama, I know you got people in the back, and you made a mistake by putting me on first. I said I will answer any and all questions about my retirement. So we are going way, way over. We're going way over. Go for it.
How's it going? Big match, John. Liam Crowley with Comic Book. Back at the Raw After Mania in 2013, you brought out some dance moves, and one of them was a little heel turn.
Yeah.
At the Firefly Funhouse match, you donned the NWO shirt. We've seen The Rock embrace the dark side in his latest return to the ring. Mm-hmm. In this final run, do you think there's any chance we see a darker side of John Cena?
So I think by now, after 22 years, I know you'll see me, but you won't see me. You will get my authentic self, and moments of frustration and moments of disappointment. Heck, I can't remember the last time I won a match. I'm on a little bit of a slump. So I guess I don't think in those terms. What I do know is I really try to work hard every day to be as good a human being as I can. So I don't know how much impact that would have, because that goes heavily against what I value. I think you would see through it. Our fans are they have a great, pardon my French, they got a great bullshit. And what a happy, joyous, and caring moment I was able to be a part of tonight. And I don't know what what details we're going to get into as far as matches and opponents. I do know that it's a joyous time for me and a fun time for me. And my goal is to bring generations together to make memories that'll last a lifetime. And if my involvement with a stacked roster, if we can all build moments that pour the foundation for the next 2 decades, man, that's pretty special. So that's the best I can give you right now. Keep them coming, guys. Keep them coming.
One more question about his retirement.
Nope, no, I won't have it. Taking over the press conference. Damn, Paul's gonna be mad. So is Punk. He's gonna be pissed.
Hey, John, over here. This might be a difficult question for you to answer, but
let's lean into it. Let's give it a try.
Obviously, when people are reflecting on your career, it's very hard to separate your career and Vince McMahon. And I want to know, now that you have had a lot of time to kind of reconcile what has been alleged against Vince McMahon, can you tell me what he has meant to your career and also how you have kind of processed what has come out over the last 2 years?
Well, surely an uncomfortable question. And man, I really would much rather talk about what's ahead of us, and that's really important. I've been pretty honest with my opinion to answer that question, and if you didn't see it, I know you can dig it up somewhere. I think we're on the precipice of something pretty special, and as the business evolves and continues to evolve, damn, it's in pretty good hands with the TKO folks. So I am happy to be where I'm at. Again, I think if you want that information, you dig hard enough, you can find it. Thank you, though. Thank you. Appreciate the courage. Yes, anybody else?
Hi,
Yep.
John, Melissa
Nothing's off
here.
limits, guys. Go for it.
Hi, John, right here. So you've been with the company for a long time on the screen as a wrestler.
Mhm.
After your retirement, do you see yourself maybe doing like a backstage as a producer or even just working with the talent in the future?
Great question. So here's where we give you some of the deets of the farewell tour. It's not going to end at WrestleMania. WrestleMania will be my last WrestleMania. But hopefully, if everything goes according to plan, we're going straight through from January to December. We're going to try to do a long list of dates. I think right now, tentatively, it's hovering in the mid-30s to 40s because I'm still going to try to juggle a lot of stuff that's going on. And that'll be the end of my in-ring competition. Now, part of this business plan, I guess, that I proposed and they accepted, thank you, they, was me remaining in the WWE family in some capacity for an extended time to come. I've always said to the audience that the WWE is my home and I love it. And just because I physically feel I'm at my end doesn't mean I need to distance myself from something I love. I have passion for this business. I still watch Money in the Bank and yell at the screen and yell at the guys for what they're doing or what they could be doing. So I feel I have some wisdom locked up here that could be of some value. So I look forward to ending my participation in the ring in the best way that I possibly can and being a member of the extended WWE family for quite some time to come. Keep them coming.
Hey, it's Adrian Hernandez with Unlikely John. Pardon the simplicity in the question, but when it comes to the fans,
Wait a
obviously...
second, is the name of your outlet Unlikely John?
No, Unlikely. With
Unlikely
Adrian Hernandez.
John.
Great
Okay,
podcast.
gotcha.
You should be on it one day. We'll talk about that later.
All right.
Obviously, this news hit the sports world, the wrestling world, the entertainment world, and you just talked about this journey and how it's going to play out. What's the message to the fans on what they can expect?
Well, man, I've always said I want to find the right time to say thank you. And I've always said I'll never be able to put into words how much the audience means to me because without them, I'm nothing. So I think this is the best way to do it. Have a bunch of events all across the world where we can all get together for that one last time. Go crazy, have fun, scream at the top of our lungs. I mean, there's a lot of folks out there that told me I couldn't wrestle, certainly told me I suck. I can't wait for them to come back. There's folks now that sing. It's pretty energetic out there. And with like I said, with the meteoric rise in popularity and awareness of the WWE, I think it's a great time to do something like this. I don't think I'm saying anything out of turn here. A lot of sports entertainment retirements are either immediate injury forces, they're excuses to beat up a champion and vie for a title match, or they're dishonest. People say they're walking away and 2 years later they come back. I want to set the record straight right now. I'm done. This is it. But the reason I'm saying that is not because I'm over it, I'm done. I just want to send the message to our fans that, like, if you ever wanted to be a part of this one last time, we're going to do it as big as we can, and we're inviting everybody, and we hope you come enjoy the fun and enjoy the show. Thank you. Yeah, go for it. Wherever the mic's at.
Hi, Joe Torres Contralona. You've achieved almost everything, or basically everything, in WWE. Is there anything professionally or personally that you want to achieve before retiring?
I think just to let everyone know how appreciative I am. And I guess that's my why for doing this. How grateful I am to have been able to do this for as long at the capacity that I have. I wasn't kidding when I said tonight that I was grateful to play in the house that everybody built, because that's all I'm doing. There was one before me, there were many before me, there'll be many after. I guess what I have left to do is say my thank yous before that chapter closes. Keep them coming.
Hello, Mona Nawaz at the One Mona. I saw you giving some love to Messina ringside. Mm-hmm. What's next for John Cena after you retire, and are the Jorts retiring with you?
So that's a great question. What's next? I don't know. I know what's now. I'm in the middle of filming Peacemaker Season 2. So they gave me a weekend off to come and have some fun. Yes, the Jorts will be retired. And man, just when they were coming back into fashion too. I do want to make it perfectly clear that when I say I'm done competing, I am done. The uniform will be retired. You will see me in a suit and tie. I have no intention on being physical in any way, no guest refereeing, no falling through an accidental table, none of that stuff. I will be a fan and an advocate, and that's it.
We have time for one more question. I'm sorry, I'm the heel here, but we have one more question because we have more people in the back who wants to talk to all of you.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, John. Alex Lajas from Queen of the Ring. I know tonight must have been a very emotional night for you to come out, but thinking back on your career, especially that young, ruthless aggression, John, how proud of you are of him, and what kind of moments are coming back to you now that you have set your retirement?
So I think reflection is important. This is a great question, but I don't like to get stuck there. There's a lot of work to be done. And I think if I get stuck in reflection, I don't ever want to shortchange folks who are attending our events in the now. I'll tell you in December, when I got a chance to catch my breath and really look back at the whole body of work. But right now, what's most important to me is we all buckle up for a 2025 that should be very interesting. And I look forward to seeing what's happening. I look forward to seeing familiar faces around the world that I've seen for the last 20 years, some new young faces that I haven't been able to see because I haven't been on a full tour in a while. I'm really excited. And tonight, the emotions were happiness and joy. And this is not a bad thing. This is a great thing. And like I said, a lot of times, folks have to retire out of emergency. And this is one of those instances where we can hopefully do something that people will remember, and hopefully it'll help the foundation of the WWE moving forward. One more question. Somebody just say something. Go for it. Yep.
Johnny, I approach. I gotta say, when it's all said and done, what about the fans remember John Cena as?
Man, I don't know. This might sound weird, but I'm not sure if that's important to me. I want them to have fun when they're there. And if they take anything away from that, if they remember me for the guy they booed at the top of their lungs, or someone that affected their life, or hey, the first time I saw you was with a caregiver or a parent, that's their story. I want them to feel that they got my best. And up to now, I can say that they've gotten my best, and I hope that continues. One last question. Just somebody say something. Just somebody say something.
Anybody on the roster that you haven't got a chance to work with that you'd love to work with in your run here?
Are you kidding me? The roster's loaded right now. So is there anybody I haven't had a chance to work with? Everybody. And I think that's going to be part of the hype and part of the intrigue about only doing so many dates is what stories are we going to tell? And I very much look forward to that. One last question. One last question. Yeah, go for it.
One more freestyle.
What's that?
If you're Ric Flair or Dusty Rhodes, who's your opposite?
Okay, watch this. I'm 47. I got to give that up as far as the freestyle goes. Album turns 20 next year. Very proud of it. Awesome time in my life. But that chapter's closed, just like we're closing the chapter next year. Say again, if I'm...
If you're Ric Flair or Dusty Rhodes, who's your counterpart? Like, who's your legacy counterpart? And how you view your career?
Oh, that one's easy, the audience. Absolutely. The most, what do they call it, polarizing figure in WWE. The audience has been my dancing partner for over 2 decades. What's that? Can you get a follow-up? That's greedy. Who's got one more? Yeah, go. He had a follow-up. I'm stealing his follow-up and pushing it over there.
You once told the gentleman to my left that you were excited for your next championship. Are you going for 17?
Great question. I would love that opportunity, but those opportunities are earned. And given my past track record, I got some work to do. So what I said tonight about fantastic opportunities, man, the Rumble, that's a great ticket, right? Elimination Chamber now has some stakes to it, so that's another great opportunity. And like I said, WrestleMania is not my last one. Money in the Bank is another great opportunity. So I know from a straight competitive standpoint, I got to work my way up from the bottom because I'm a realist. But there are some opportunities scattered in there that if I do, harness a little bit more luck, who knows, man? Maybe we really make some history. I don't know. Either way, I'm excited. Guys, that's my time. That's my time, folks. Kasama, thanks for being generous. I want to thank everybody in the back for giving me time. Thank you guys for your questions, all of them. I really appreciate every one of you guys. Thank you so much. Let's have some fun next year.
All right, well, listen, because of the chaos, the absolute chaos that ensued up here before we went to John Cena, I did not get a chance to properly congratulate John Cena on his retirement as announced here at Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, Ontario, Canada at Money in the Bank. So congratulations, John Cena, on an amazing, amazing in-ring career. I'm actually being told that John Cena has one more question, so I'm just kidding. He doesn't. Yeah, we're out of questions. There's no more questions for John Cena. But I mean, this is a monumental announcement. We often hear Michael Cole refer to John Cena as the greatest of all time, the GOAT, the best to ever do it. You think about John Cena's legacy, and it's not over. We got the retirement tour coming in 2025. But what do you think about?
Yeah, it's definitely not over. Look, Wade and I have definitely had our run-ins with Cena during our career. My very first night on the main roster, December 2012, the very first thing I did in WWE was leaving John Cena laying, and that meant so much to me because it was Cena. And then being there every night as Dolph and Cena are having these incredible cage matches, I got to learn from the very best. So salute to John Cena for all he's done. You could talk about what he's done in ring, and that's truly incredible, truly remarkable. But I think of all the Make-A-Wishes, I think of all the kids, all the young people who have been a part of C-Nation, who have been moved by what he's done in the ring. So salute to John Cena on his final run.
We can see some of the superstars exiting the building here at Scotiabank Arena. But Wade, I do want to get your thoughts on the career of John Cena as well. And by the way, one of the big details out of that press conference, 30 to 40 dates as of right now in 2025. So if you are a Cena fan or maybe not a Cena fan, you can look forward to that in 2025. But your thoughts, Wade?
It's a massive moment in this industry. John has had one foot out of the industry for several years now, right? He's not been the full-time guy he was for 10 or 15 years as the focal point of this industry, but it's just huge news. And the fact that we're getting a This Is It tour throughout 2025, normally when you have these things, guys maybe have a 6-week WrestleMania run. We'll go out at the very, very top. No, he's putting in some legwork here. I'm really impressed by that, because he could have taken the really, really easy option, just turned up for the big one at Mania, have your grand farewell, put in a little bit of effort, and don't get me wrong, it's hard competing at WrestleMania, but it's not an entire year of touring. So hats off to John for actually doing that for the people who love him and have loved him for the last 20 or so years.
Really quick, you think he's got one more championship in him? Real quick.
Look, Father Time gets us all. I'm not, he is the greatest of all time in many people's eyes. I don't know. We got a great roster, as he alluded to, but if anyone can do it at his age, he can.
Tied at 16 World Championship reigns with Ric Flair, and you could be the guy in history. Yeah, you need any more motivation, there it is. I would not put it past him.
Well, we'll see. The crowd here at Scotiabank Arena was very excited to see, and yes, they did see John Cena here tonight announcing his retirement. We also had some incredible, incredible matches. Damian Priest retains his World Heavyweight Championship. Drew McIntyre won the Money in the Bank ladder match for the men. He unsuccessfully tried to cash it in as well. We obviously saw him up here losing his mind. If there's any fallout from that, we will let you know later in the show. The Bloodline was victorious over Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton. And Tiffany Stratton is officially Miss Money in the Bank in the year 2024. She is standing by, getting ready to address the media. Now we take you there live.
Hi, guys. Hi, Tiffany. It's Melissa for the Toronto Observer. Nice to see you again.
Hi.
So you're the 8th woman to win the Money in the Bank briefcase. What are you going to do to make your reign stand out more compared to the 7 women before you?
Well, first of all, we're going to need to give her a little makeover. Maybe dye it pink, maybe bedazzle it, but that is first on the list. And that's all I'm going to tell you guys right now.
Hi, it's Diaz from Ring the Bell. Congratulations, it really is Tiffy time, but you blew my mind with that interaction with Trish Stratus, the real mother versus daughter match. So are you ready to face Trish Stratus, and do you think you have what it takes to defeat the GOAT, Trish Stratus?
Listen, those are two different, completely different generations. And Trishy time, she is one of my idols in professional wrestling, and I am ready to get in the ring with the GOAT.
Hi, Tiffany. Stephanie Hardy of The Hardy Wrestling Podcast and Daily DDT. Congratulations on becoming Miss Money in the Bank. If you had to cash in on Nia Jax come SummerSlam, would you be willing to do that? Or are you willing to keep your alliance with her as the Queen of the Ring as you matriculate as Miss Money in the Bank?
That's a good question. Nia Jax is my girl, but a good magician never reveals her secrets, so you're gonna have to wait and see and tune in to Friday Night SmackDown.
Emily May, congratulations. You previously spoke about potentially have your eye on Liv Morgan. So can you speak to that now that you are Miss Money in the Bank?
Yeah, I feel like Liv Morgan, she's doing amazing right now, and I feel like if I were on the Raw brand, I would most certainly be cashing in on her, but I am on the SmackDown brand, so right now I am focused on Bayley.
Okay, we have time for one more question. Last question.
Hi, Tiffany. So TK from Women's Wrestling Talk. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We saw the men's Money in the Bank not go so well. So as far as you cashing in the Money in the Bank, did you learn from that, or what's the game plan as far as the moment you know when you're going to cash it in?
Well, like I said, a good magician never reveals her secrets. But my main focus right now is bedazzling this beautiful thing over here, dyeing her pink, adding an extra strap. I'm gonna carry her around like a little purse and maybe snuggle her at night. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, that's my main focus right now.
So thank you, Tiffany Stratton, 2024.
Thanks, guys.
I just know Tiffany Stratton is about to make that briefcase look good. She is Miss Money in the Bank 2024. Some really great questions in that press conference, but ever since she has joined the main roster in WWE, she has talked and fought and wrestled like nothing but a major player. What makes her such a well-rounded superstar so early in her career?
I mean, clearly she has a great athletic base. She's confident too, more than anything. I think you see a lot of people who come up on the main roster and sometimes they're trepidatious, and I don't sense that at all from her. I think she's very confident. But I just want to, just in general, I want to shout out the women because they put on one heck of a match. Naomi with that split, I don't know how she maintained it as that ladder was teetering. Shout out also to Chelsea, who Canadian
Chelsea,
Chelsea, who gave everything she had. Io Sky, what an incredible talent. I feel like we don't talk enough about how incredible Io was, but salute to all the women who really, truly put their bodies on the line tonight.
Yeah, and I'll add to what he was saying. I agree with everything he said about the women in that match. Lyra Valkyria, a lot of people, she's been flying under the radar. If they haven't been watching NXT over the past couple of years, I certainly have. I'm fully up to speed on just how good she is, and I think she really, really stepped up massively today. But going back to Tiffany Stratton, exactly what he said. Confidence, some would say arrogance. The reason she's so good is she has all the tools, but she has the ability to completely ignore everyone, not listening to anyone's advice, ignore the questions in the press conference, and do what she does, which is go out there and win.
In a lot of ways, that can certainly be a strength. You both talk about the confidence or the arrogance, however you see it. Tonight, she had the audacity to interrupt Hall of Famer Trish Stratus. What did you make of her guts in that moment?
I'll tell you what I think of that. I don't think Tiffany Stratton has any clue who Trish Stratus is. Along with, and that's, I love Trish Stratus. I'm the last person who's going to insult Trish Stratus, but I just think she doesn't care who came before her. She doesn't care who the greats were. She didn't study this like the rest of us. She just happens to be a grade A, world-class, Olympic-level competitor who has all the natural athletic gifts on planet Earth, and she is just a mean, mean competitor. And I don't care how the women did it before me. I'm here. We're starting again at zero, and I am building WWE's women's division up in my own image. That is the Tiffany Stratton I love watching.
I can't wait to see what she does with that briefcase. And it should be noted, winning the Money in the Bank ladder match for the women is a pretty good omen. Women that have won the match are 7-0 when attempting to cash in. Literally, not one woman that's won the briefcase has failed when attempting to cash in. So looks good for Tiffany Stratton if she can continue that trend.
Tiffany Stratton is Little Miss Perfect, and she will not be the one who messes it up, I promise you.
Yeah, I'm sure she'll be very strategic about when and where she decides to cash in that briefcase. Elsewhere tonight, Sami Zayn has retained his Intercontinental Championship, defeating Braun Breaker in his 5th title defense. Earlier tonight, Kathy Kelly got to chat with Sami Zayn.
Sami, following up on our conversation earlier, a successful week here in Toronto, retaining your Intercontinental Championship by beating Braun Breaker here this evening. How are you going to celebrate this win?
Honestly, I'm not in really a mood to celebrate, even though I do feel good. I think I'm just spent. I don't really know how to put it. I'm emotionally spent. You know, you talked earlier about, having the comedy show this week and preparing for that, but then also having to prepare at the same time for the physical challenges that a Braun Breaker poses. And it's hard to juggle, but here's the insane thing is that, I accused Braun Breaker of underestimating me, and I think he did. I was fully prepared to go to war with an absolute beast, a freak of an athlete. I think in spite of all that, and he took me to hell and back, I think I actually underestimated him. Because he took me to a physical low that I haven't felt in a long time. And maybe it's the end of a lot of exhaustion, and maybe, I don't know what it is, but full marks to him. But I know that crowd was behind me. But even then, when I got that 1, 2, 3, I could tell a lot of folks were surprised. And I don't know how many times I need to keep doing this. I don't know how many times I need to overcome these odds or whatever it is, or I don't know how many times it's defying the odds until the odds change. So I don't know. Part of me feels vindicated. I don't know, man. It's a whirlwind for me right now. But I feel like I said I was going to do something, and a lot of people didn't think I would, and I did. And I'm walking out of Canada still the Intercontinental Champion, and I just feel good.
I mean, I feel like as long as I've known you, I've never seen your emotional battery and social battery and physical battery this spent.
I think when you add all those variables up, this is what you get. And it's been hard. It's been hard being the Intercontinental Champion. It's a lot of physical tests. Like winning it was hard enough. He's Gunther, greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. I think no contest. And I had to go to hell to get this thing. And now there haven't been any breaks up to and including tonight. There's no night off. There's no night off. So I don't know, man. I know people kind of think like, oh, that's it. He pulled that one off, but he won't pull the next one off. I'm just going to keep doing what I do until hopefully people start to see that it's not a fluke, it's not an accident, this is the real thing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say besides that.
Well, thank you so much, and congratulations again.
Yeah, thanks again. Sorry, a lot going on at the moment. Yeah, thank you.
Well, congratulations once again to Canadian Sami Zayn retaining his Intercontinental Championship on home soil here in his country of Canada. Tonight marks 91 days as Intercontinental Champion for him. We heard him there allude to he's going to keep fighting until people realize that he is the real deal, because he is such an underdog champion, so to speak.
Yeah, I placed my sob up on Sami's opponent way too many times. I don't know how he does it time and time again. He's incredible.
Yeah, career underdog, as you said. I think tonight, though, we did not see the best of Bron Breakker. And I've been watching Bron for the last 3 years, his entire time in this industry. There's a lot more coming from Bron Breakker. Today was a learning experience, and I do think over time, with disappointment, he's going to bounce back stronger than ever. Be warned, locker room.
Yeah, Sami Zayn's been in the ring with a lot of athletes, and he certainly had some high praise for Bron Breakker after defeating him, saying, you know, he doesn't know the last time he's been that physically spent in the ring with another athlete. What makes Bron Breakker a unique athlete, I guess, is his size and the fact that he's also quick. Biggie, you talked about that earlier on the pre-show. So congratulations again to Sami Zayn. We're going to take you back into the press room.
You told me when you pointed at me.
Punk showed up tonight. He is about to address the media now.
I would like to start off by saying congratulations to the Florida Panthers on winning the Stanley Cup. I feel like nobody's been doing that. It's not the greatest thing in the world for me either, but also congratulations to the men and women's winners of the Money in the Bank ladder match. Fantastic. And congratulations to John Cena, who I will be taking questions for now.
That's an appropriate segue, Punk. Liam Crowley with Comic Book. I want to just get your reaction to Cena's retirement. I saw you guys wrestle at Night of Champions 2012. I'm sure you had a backstage interaction after he made that announcement. What did you guys talk about? And just, I would love to hear you speak about what he's meant to your career.
So I texted him right away, and I said, don't leave before you say hi to me. And he texts back, haha, have a good one tonight. And I immediately took that as, piss off, I'm leaving. So I know he's busy, he's filming Peacemaker, so I figured he was leaving right away. I was pleasantly surprised to run into him afterwards, and I told him, I'll be the guy that drags him out of retirement. This retirement that he says he's going to adhere to, and this is it. And when the final one happens, that's going to be it. Like, yeah, 15 years, I'll drag him out of retirement. But Cena, I think, to my career, means a lot. I don't think there's many people up in that rare air where if you talk about my career, I feel you have to talk about John. And it makes me feel proud that I think if you talk about John's career, I think you have to talk about me. You know, we're married in that respect. So proud of him. He gets to go out on his terms. I know that's important. I'm looking forward to what he does. And I told him that, you know, if it's going to be one more time, we got to do it at least one more time.
And CM Punk, it's Gervier Bra from TNT Sports. I just wanted to ask, so kind of to extrapolate on that, you had this, at Money in the Bank in 2011, you had probably the most pivotal moment of your career that really took you to a completely different place. How do you kind of view like that moment and what, specifically like what you did that night and how almost like the legacy of what John Cena was at that time, kind of what your dynamic ended up becoming to each other?
I think you're the comic book guy, so it would have been better if I said this, but I always looked at it like Superman and Batman. You know, Superman is great. He's cool if you like that sort of thing. But then there's Batman. And who doesn't like Batman, right? And that's what I mean when you talk about John, you got to talk about me. And certainly when you talk about me, you got to talk about John. That moment, like that night, you say that was best moment of my career. I feel fortunate to have had a career where I can maybe argue that. And I think a lot of other people might argue that too. Well, there's the pipe bomb. There's Money in the Bank. There's, you know, my return in Chicago most recently at Survivor Series. I'm always going to be tied to John Cena. And if that is the greatest moment of my career, I'm proud of that.
Thank you. Oh, you're gonna hold it for me? All right, it's cool.
Yeah, we don't want you to try to. We don't want you to try to steal that. I know about all of you.
Oh, they steal them.
Yeah.
Steve Fall from 10 Count Media. Question: earlier today, AJ Lee, your wife, was trending on Twitter, and he's snacking, and they thought she would show up to screw over Drew McIntyre. You did that. Do you think we'll ever see you and AJ in a ring together?
I appreciate the question. You would have to ask my wife, but she's not here. She's taking care of Larry. I don't want to fall in the trap of saying never say never. I don't want to give people false hope. I also will not put words in her mouth and say, you know, I think this could happen. I think this is a brave new world, and I don't think a lot of people thought I was going to show up. You know, it's really all on her. She's busy. I'm super proud of her. She's doing her own thing. She's got I don't even know if I'm allowed to talk about this stuff. She's got a production company started up. She's writing TV, movies, all kinds of stuff. And I laughably always say I'm a bad husband because I never know what project she's talking about. Oh, I have a meeting, and I'm like, with who? Is it Netflix? Is it Hulu? Is it CBS? I don't know. She's got so many irons and so many different fires. I will say, as a fan of hers, would love to see it.
Last question over here.
Hey, Punk. Justin from the Wrestling Classic. Quick question. How are you doing? Where are we on the rehab? This is the most physical we've seen you been since the Royal Rumble. Where are we clear to wrestle next month? What's the deal here?
I like to keep people in suspense. I will say that I feel great and I'm ready to go. And there are things in place to protect me against myself that I maybe wish were in place, 10 years ago. But we don't need to talk about the past. Great personnel, great facilities, and I'm busting my ass to get back to, if I could steal what John was talking about, for the fans. Because whether, you think he's more or less polarizing than me, whether you hate me or love me, I'm coming back to enjoy all these moments that were robbed from me when I got injured. And shit happens. It's a contact sport. It stinks. But I've been working very, very hard to rush the rehab and come back. And everybody behind me has supported it, but they've also been like, we're not in a hurry. And I love that.
Thank you to one of the most polarizing. No, one more?
No, yeah, look, I mean, yeah.
Okay, one more, guys.
One more.
Sorry.
I also would like to thank John Cena while we take this time to find who's asking the next question, to make me really nostalgic about the time he would go over his time. It really brought me back, sitting back in the green room there. I thought that was really exciting. I think he did that just for me. I appreciate him.
Okay, here you go.
Hey, CM Punk, Adrian Hernandez with Unlikely. I know a lot of questions were asked about John Cena. For you to return today at the pay-per-view, at the event that you made famous, honestly, how does that feel?
Feels like it was meant to be. I feels like I was supposed to be here to witness that, and I'm glad I was. And there's been a lot of moments since I've come back that I've just been backstage, and people might not even know I'm back here. And I'm just like, man, I'm really glad I was in the building to witness what I thought was history and feel the energy and all that. I thought it was a real special moment, and it's just funny the way the world works. Sometimes all the planets align. I was supposed to be here for that, and I'm glad I was.
Well, I feel that was meant to be the last question, so let's have a round of applause.
Well, see, you shouldn't have said that. I'll do one more. I'll do one more. Right up front here, Kasama. You can make it. No? Nope. You can't make it? You're trapped?
Hi, Alex Lajas from Queen of the Ring. Congratulations on sabotaging Drew McIntyre's cash-in. We're all very proud of you. However, there was someone who had some words to say to you, Seth Rollins. What do you think about that, and how do you feel?
No comment.
That's the last question. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the best in the world. Give it up to CM Punk.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all. If anybody wants any Timmys, you know where to find me.
And there he goes. Of course, leave it to CM Punk to show up to Toronto for Money in the Bank to screw over Drew McIntyre. CM Punk, of course, famous for winning the Money in the Bank briefcase in back-to-back years. The only WWE superstar to do that in the history of the event. Lots to come here on the Money in the Bank post-show, including Paul Triple H Levesque. We'll hear from him next.
But things are really how they seem.
If I wasn't raised in Puerto Rico, I don't know if I would have loved wrestling the way I did. I just knew this is what I have to do. My family suffered emotionally seeing me go through a lot of down times in my life. Literally having nothing, I'm out of shape, I have no money saved. What do? Go make a name for yourself.
He has a presence about him. He kind of set himself apart.
Damian felt like he had to act a certain way.
It was frustrating to hear people's opinion of me. Hunter himself told me, prove them wrong.
It was his time to have something big.
Biggest moment in your life. So happy for him.
I'm one of the ones that wasn't supposed to.
Man, I think about everything, the journey, everything that had to happen to get here. Wouldn't change anything.
Welcome back to the Money in the Bank post-show live from Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Gents, we just heard from CM Punk before the break as he addressed the media with multiple questions following in the footsteps of one John Cena. But are we officially going to call this the Toronto screw job? Punk shows up, screws Drew McIntyre again?
Once again, I can't say that too many of us here are shocked. Look, I've been friends with Punk for quite some time. He's been good to me. But he's what I refer to as an agent of chaos. He is someone who is very polarizing, and he doesn't have any issue upsetting people. And clearly he's upset you many times.
No, I'm calm. I'm sedated. Listen, you know my thoughts. I am going to say no more on this entire subject. You've got to put in some legwork now because I am staying silent. I have my reprimand. I have my fine. I'm done on this particular subject. My thoughts
You're not saying anything else.
My thoughts are with one person. That's Drew McIntyre. You guys are carrying
this.
Do you
still believe that CM Punk should be penalized for
interfering? I will not answer any more questions on this particular topic. You guys are dealing with this.
You're done. As far as Punk is concerned.
I don't want to say this again, guys. I've been reprimanded. I've been fired. You know my thoughts. I refer you to what I said 3 weeks ago. My thoughts haven't changed. I will not repeat them for obvious reasons. Take it away, guys.
Okay, Big E, let me ask you this then. I mean, do you think CM Punk should be reprimanded for his interference in all of these opportunities for Drew McIntyre? And if not, I mean, where does this go from here? If you are just joining us on the post show, Drew McIntyre showed up here unexpectedly, very hot, very heated. It was physical, it was intense, it was very intimidating. What's next? I mean, where does this end?
Look, Punk has been reprimanded throughout his career. That doesn't mean anything to him. Reprimand him if you want. What does that mean?
He's not afraid of that. Yes.
Look, this thing has already escalated to a point probably far past where it should have gone. And I honestly am a little concerned that it's going to get to a place that is a bit too violent.
It's already crossed the line, hasn't it?
I don't think I've seen anything quite like this. Drew is a frightening human being when he's angry, and he's not letting this go. There's no way to peaceably settle this between these two. It's going to have to end in a ring or outside of the building, but it's going to end with someone very hurt.
And the problem with that is that CM Punk, as of this moment, is not cleared for in-ring action, so it can't be solved in the ring just yet. He was hesitant in his post-press conference to give us an update on his status. The WWE Universe, of course, hopes that maybe he's day-to-day at this point. I mean, it looked all right hitting Drew with the chair.
But here's the thing. Does Drew care that Punk's not cleared? He's in the building. He's arrived in the building. He's cost Drew once again. And I don't think it really matters that he's not cleared. I think this thing is escalating. It's getting to a boiling point that is honestly a little bit uncomfortable. It's great for fans, but when you're sitting right here, it's a bit much.
How much do you think Drew McIntyre is responsible for this getting to the point that it's gotten to?
They both have a hand in this. They both are two very stubborn men.
There's no innocent party here.
They're stubborn men with big egos, and it has escalated. And look, I don't even remember the origin of this thing. I feel like it's gotten to a point where it's so out of hand. It has become so, seeing Drew in Chicago, seeing Drew take this man's bloody body, throw it on the concrete. He didn't care that it was his hometown.
I'll add one thing. You don't remember the origin of this thing? I do. It goes back way beyond what you have seen on TV. It goes back to a very young Drew McIntyre in this industry, and that's all I'm going to add.
So you're talking about the beginning of Drew's career here. You're talking about over a decade ago, and it still has not been settled.
Yes.
So you're saying this boiling point, it started years ago, not months ago.
This goes way deeper than any of you can imagine when it comes to McIntyre and the other individual that I will not think about.
The one thing we can all agree on is that it is very clearly far from over between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. But I am hearing that Paul Triple H Levesque is getting ready to address the media. We take you to him now.
Hey, buddy. I have to wait for Kasama to flap. Oh, she's flapping her wings. That means it's time to go. I want to make sure the cue was obvious and not just like a point, because it can be confusing. Sometimes people point a lot of you doing the ones right now. I see it. So thanks for being here. Thanks to all the media that came tonight, whether here or in attendance as well. I want to thank Scotiabank Arena for tonight and for this whole weekend. Been incredible hosts. Toronto is always a phenomenal market for us. Canada in general is, as John said earlier, and it's because of the unbelievable fans here. Just, I said something in the kickoff show the other night about how loud France was, how loud Scotland was. They certainly made an effort here. It's arguable, I suppose, who is the loudest, depending on venue, but certainly made a play here for being one of the loudest venues we come to. Also want to thank Trish Stratus for hosting tonight. It's always wonderful to have her back here and be a part of what we do. True legend in our business and always has a home here, so thank you to Trish. And then I really wanted to talk about John Cena for a second, just his, I forgot I had my glasses on my head. John's contributions to the business, second to none. A lot of people talk about legends and icons and, so much speculation made around who would be on the Mount Rushmore or whatever that is. But I don't care what metric you use, John is at the top of all of them. He's had an unbelievable career that I'm incredibly proud of to have seen sort of from the beginning, seeing him as a representative of this company before he ever got hired by this company and went to OVW, all the way to now at a point where he's calling his own shot on how he ends it. Most people don't get to do that. Most people could do that and then choose not to. I don't know why that is in our business, but I think that's the best way. I think it's for an athlete, for a professional, for an artist, for whatever you want to call and label what we do, to be able to call your shot in and out, to be able to walk out healthy, happy, content. That to me, that's where it is. And I'm happy that John's able to do that. And I think it's going to be an exciting 2025. I can't wait to watch it unfold, but it's going to be an incredible year that John just continues to make a lot of memories and a lot of moments for people, while they, in return, get to make those final memories and moments for him. It's always been a part of what John does, which is sort of this connective tissue and back and forth with the audience. And I'm excited for him to get to do that for a whole nother year and then call it a day on his terms. And that's exciting. So, but for me personally, I just want to say thank you to John for everything he's done for WWE, for all of the superstars here, and for what he's done just for sports entertainment, for pro wrestling, for all of it in general. Against his will, a while ago, he was being called the greatest of all time, I believe. But he truly is. I believe that. So thank you to John. Like I said, incredible weekend. Started out with Sammy's comedy show. I had no idea Sammy was comically inclined. I don't think many of us here had any idea. I'm not sure if his show was funny. You guys would have to tell me. I wasn't there. I see heads shaking, so thumbs up. So I'm happy for Sammy. It was very popular, and I think something we'll do again in the past, but a great way to kick off this weekend on Thursday. SmackDown last night obviously was off the charts crowd-wise here. Money in the Bank tonight, and NXT Heatwave here tomorrow. So just an incredible run. We'll have done over 45,000 tickets through the weekend. We had a record house here of 19,858, which was a highest arena gate for WWE in Canada in history. So very good there. And it looks like initial view will be record viewers for Money in the Bank across platforms. So very exciting. Not that it's very far away, but Canada technically is part of our international growth. I think that you see, and I want to reiterate one more time what I said last PLE and last press conference, which is that drive for us as a global brand continues. When we make the move to Netflix in January, I want to reiterate it, 80% of the globe will be seeing the PLEs, Raw, SmackDown, NXT every week. And that's an impressive stat. So we want to make sure that, and let me just reiterate, beyond that, as time goes on, the rest of the globe will pull into that as well. So it's an exciting time for us, and a time for us to go visit people everywhere and go put WWE and what we do. It's amazing to see us on TV. It's even better, just a much more incredible experience to see it live and in person. So we look forward to going around the globe and seeing everybody. Thought we had a spectacular event tonight. Very excited that so far everybody seems to have come out unscathed, banged up, bumps and bruises, but nobody seriously injured, which I always hold my breath on these events. You want to see people have the best outing that they can possibly have and make memories, but do it safely. And we were able to do that tonight. So I thought a lot of people, and I'm not going to go through the whole card because it's been a long night for everybody, and I'll get to your questions here, but a lot of people had what I feel like were breakout performances tonight, whether that's Andrade, whether that's, damn. It's been a long night. Carmelo, thank you. Tiffany Stratton, just Chelsea Green, just so many people had breakout moments tonight. Incredible night. Braun Breaker continuing to show that just how good he really is, even in defeat, and how good, he's been doing this a very short period of time. His time will come. You can see it in him, right? It's there. Sami Zayn, I heard Sami saying, what does he have to do to prove it? He's already proved it. He's proved it every night, but it's what he does. He's an underdog. It's what he does. But he's proved it to everybody how good he is. There's no question anymore about how good Sami Zayn is. But I thought everything was a great night. You know, a few things here and there would have done differently, no different than any other time. But with that, I am going to open it up to questions.
Hey, Paul, Jan Murphy, Toronto Sun. Hey. You talked about Toronto and coming here, and you touched on 2025. With the Netflix deal coming and what you were just saying, is there any possibility of another event here in 2025 in Toronto?
I would say Toronto might be tough. I'm not 100% sure on that from a PLE standpoint. I'm sure from a TV standpoint, obviously we look at coming here a lot because of the reaction that was here tonight. I'm sure Canada will get another massive event before the end of the year. Where exactly we're still working on, but look, whether it's Toronto, whether it's Montreal, whether it's Monday in Ottawa, whether it's Vancouver, whether it's Calgary, fans in Canada are amazing. We want to come and perform in front of them. So whether it's this year, whether it's next year, we're going to be looking to come back here as much as we can.
Emily May with Sportskeeda Wrestling and Wrestling News Co. We all saw the news, John Cena obviously retiring from in-ring competition. Is there a WWE Hall of Fame induction in his future, perhaps next year? And who potentially might be that person to induct him?
Yeah, that's a great question. Is the Hall of Fame in John Cena's future? Yeah, I mean, then we build him his own. You know what I mean? It absolutely is. I am of the opinion that, and obviously myself, Nick, others will discuss this, but I am of the opinion that John has earned the right to say when John wants to go in the Hall of Fame. When it works for his schedule, he's a busy man. When it works for his schedule, when it works for his time, when it's right for him as a person, sometimes performers want to put some distance between what they did so that they can separate from it and then have a return sort of moment and feel that again after it's subsided. Answer for John the Hall of Fame is absolutely yes. When? I would love to talk to him about that. As far as who, one of my first questions when I would talk to John about, like, when do you want to do it? Who do you want to put you in? Like, that would be, to me, that's the respect factor. That's always our first question to Hall of Fame inductees is, like, who do you want to put you in? Who would you prefer to have do it? And if that's a doable thing, if it's not a doable thing, you know what I mean? It is, then it just goes from there.
Hi, Paul. Brandon Thurston from WrestleNomics.
Hey, Brandon.
About a year ago, WWE disclosed that it was cooperating with a federal investigation involving misconduct allegations involving Vince McMahon. There's a civil lawsuit now that's been put on hold pending that investigation. Can you tell us, is WWE still cooperating with that federal investigation?
Yeah, I can't talk about legal stuff at the moment.
Hey, Paul. Chris Van Vliet with Insight. Can you talk about the moment in the Damian Priest match? It looked like he didn't kick out, or it looked like, yeah, he didn't kick out. And what happened there? Is Damian okay?
Yeah, it looked like he didn't kick out. Yeah. Look, I'll let Triple H answer this question. Referee's decision is final. I'm looking forward to having a conversation with the referee to see what he saw that I didn't see, that you didn't see, that no one saw. Look, human beings in a ring, mistakes happen, things happen. It is what it is. But, it's funny for me now looking at that. If that was something I was involved in as a talent, I don't care how good the rest of it was, that would be all I would think about. And to me, it's a shame that that's all people will talk about, and that's all people will hit Damian Priest with, while he had a phenomenal performance tonight, right? But a bunch of people will attack that, criticize that, comment on that. I don't know why. That's just the negative so outweighs positive sometime. And to me, like, I wish I could just go in the back, shut off his phone, have no one talk to him for a while, and just let him think about all the other great stuff that happened in that and the role that he's been on and how great of a job he has done as world champion, and what he's done to get there and deserve it, right? Because that, he deserves all the credit in the world for all those things. And he has stepped up to a place where when you see him as a performer now, I feel like I'm watching a champion come out. I feel like I'm watching a top tier guy. That's on him, right? That's how he has handled himself and good, made himself own that position. He's done an incredible job of it. I'm incredibly proud of him as a performer late in his career, right? To get to this level, something that no one ever thought he would be able to do. He's got himself in incredible shape, done an unbelievable job. I hate for it to be like, oh yeah, you're that guy that didn't kick out the one time or something. You know what I mean? Like that's the shame part to me, because his performance tonight was off the charts, as was Seth's, as was Drew's, as was Punk's, as was everybody else in this show tonight. But it's just the way the world works. So, all good.
We have one more last question.
Everybody, you say last question. So far, I've been standing in the back waiting for everybody to wrap up. I feel like I'm on the main event of one of those 7-hour pay-per-views where you're just like, please get the thing over with.
Thanks.
And don't read into that, Jesus. I meant one of ours. I was in main events of stuff that went 6-7 hours, dreading having to go out there to a silence, right? Just calm down.
Hi there, Keith Whittier with Ottawa Life Magazine. We look forward to rolling out the red carpet for you guys on Monday. I can't put it more eloquently than Paul Heyman did at the induction ceremony at the Hall of Fame. This company is absolutely thriving under your leadership, whether it be the Netflix deal, the new deal with Indianapolis, bringing the events there. I look at the posters here. This is just a fraction of the amount of superstars, or as I like to call them, ambassadors that you have within this wonderful organization. What is the next thing that's got you really motivated and excited? Because it seems that you've checked off everything on the list in front of and behind the camera, and the company continues to thrive. Usually there's a bit of a lull after WrestleMania. No lull. It's like we can barely catch our breath. And again, I accredit that to the organization, and again, it starts at the top. So from your kind of work bucket list, if you will, what's next?
Well, one, I appreciate the kind words. It's, I'm the guy that sits up here behind the microphone, so I get some of the credit for it, I suppose. But like, there's a massive team. I couldn't do any of it without them. It starts with, the guy that I consider to be my partner in this whole thing, Nick Khan. As we're moving through all this, I couldn't do any of it without him. So, he makes it possible for us to do all these things, Netflix deals and Indianapolis and all the other things and we're working on them together, but it's awesome. The incredible changes that Lee Fitting has made, which I've brought up before, but the team that sits behind him, the team that sits behind, that does all this production, camera crews, just staff, the TV studio that makes epic packages. And, I think we do production like nobody else in the world. I think we do those kind of edits and that kind of build better than anybody else in the world. That's a team I get to work with every day. It's, I don't see it. I just see, I'm privileged to be able to come to work with some of the most talented people on the planet, in ring, out of ring, behind the scenes, behind the cameras. And for me, I feel like it's just letting them go. They're all amazing. And when we say, hey, just like do your thing, they just go do their thing. And, I'm usually blown away by it. They're just incredibly talented. As for what's next on the bucket list, like, dude, we're just getting started. I really feel like that. Like, we got a whole fall thing coming up with CW for NXT, which, by the way, Sean is just killing it, right? That whole team, Johnny Russo, the team that's down there, Matt Bloom, everybody that's associated with that across the board, whether that's talent development, recruitment, NXT in general. Just, I can't say enough good stuff about it. I'm in awe of what they're doing down there and their ability to do it. And tomorrow, I'm sure, will be no different. When they move to CW, when SmackDown makes the move to USA, when later in the year when Raw makes the move to Netflix, we're just getting rolling. We're lining up all this stuff that's going to happen. Then a lot of the changes you see now, we're slow rolling things out. When we get to the fall, when we get to the winter, there's going to be a lot. And, look, also, fortunately, I'm in a time frame where we have an incredible locker room of talent. And then on top of that, I go like, all right, well, so what's happening next year? Well, John Cena's going to come back for like a year and do all this crazy stuff. It's going to be, there's just so much coming down the pike. It's awesome. And it's a wonderful position to be able to sit in a day-to-day place and think how great stuff is, but also think in the future and go, wow, they haven't seen anything yet. And that's where we're sitting. So I'm excited and look forward to the future. Now, Kasama, shockingly, do one more.
Okay, we have one more. We have one last question.
Hi, it's Mert Stratford from TMS. Just to go back to the John Cena point, when did you first find out that this was the plan, and when did you find out, or what was the discussion like to make the announcement at Money in the Bank in Toronto?
John's been talking about, as media, right? Like John's been talking about seeing the end coming. And I think for athletes, you get there and John's schedule and everything else, and this doesn't get any easier, especially when you're away from it, to come back from it as an athlete, to be gone, come back and, go out there and basically put your body through a train wreck. It's tough. So, you get to a place where mentally you love it and you think you can keep doing it. Physically, your body's telling you, dude, that's enough. So he's been talking about it. And then it just came to be of like hey, if I did it, this would be a way I would like to do it. It was just a conversation that happened over time. And then, hey, what could the timing be like that on it? How would we work that out? Right? There's a lot of T's and I's got to get crossed and dotted. But as I said earlier, John's earned the right 10 times over to be able to do this the way he wants to do it. And I'm thrilled to sit next to him and help him figure out how he wants to do it and how we can make that ride happen, not only for him, but for all of you. This will be extraordinary and phenomenal, and we've been thinking about it for a while. And as far as, doing it here at Money in the Bank, the timing was just right. Not sure if you guys are aware of it, but secrets are hard to keep in this business. It's just like, so, it was just once we got to a place where, like, we're just running the risk here of this getting out there everywhere. Let's just get out there and talk about it. So, yeah. Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. Safe travels home. Enjoy NXT tomorrow.
All right, big thank you to our Chief Content Officer, Paul Triple H Levesque. We hear from him after every single premium live event, and we hear a lot of the same things, right? Everything is hot right now. We are on the rise. We are just getting started. You guys have both been in this business a very long time. How good is it right now when you look at the level of talent and everything that we've been able to do under the creative leadership of Triple H?
It's definitely a boom period. We've definitely, Wade and I have been around for times where, things weren't this hot. And we would see the black tarps and like, all right, well, we're going to have a smaller crowd today. And I feel like every single show now, every PLE, every live live event. We're talking about new records being made, and it's such an incredible roster now. And you have new guys come in like Jacob, you have Braun, you have new stars and Tiffany. And now I look at NXT, and I look at this young crop who are ready to come up. I look at the Obafemis, I look at the Wes Lees, I look at there's just a bevy of talent down there, and I think our industry as a whole is in a great place. I think our company is in a really, really great place. I'm excited about where we're at right now and the future. I really think it's bright.
Yeah, I think he's hit the nail on the head there. Look, I've been a fan of this game since the 80s. There's been a couple of times where it's got really hot. Now, I've been in this industry for about 20 years. It's never been as hot as it is now while I've been working in the industry. And I'll say this, I have genuine faith that I'll correct Big E. I don't think this is a boom period. I think this is something that is going to keep on kicking on. When you can get as hot as we are right now, and then you pull out, I don't know, John Cena from your back pocket and say, yeah, next year he's doing the big goodbye tour for 12 months. We ain't just in some hot period here. It's bouncing on and on and on. I'll tell you this right now. After today, after what a show that was, I'm tired, and I want to go to bed, Jackie. And listen, I want to get a great night's sleep so I can get up tomorrow, refreshed, and watch NXT Heatwave and our guy, Obafemi, just wreck shop.
Well, listen, I will happily inform you that we are almost done. There are no more questions. There is not going to be one more question. We are done. It has been a monumental event, Money in the Bank here at Scotiabank Arena. Tiffany Stratton is your 2024 Miss Money in the Bank. Drew McIntyre wins the Money in the Bank ladder match for the men, tries to cash in unsuccessfully thanks to the surprise appearance of one CM Punk, who screws him again. The Bloodline was victorious. Sami Zayn retained his Intercontinental Championship, and Damian Priest is still your World Heavyweight Champion. It has been an unbelievable night, and of course we had John Cena announce his retirement. When you walk away from this years down the road, what do you think will pop out for you still? What will you remember?
Look, we're in Canada, you're Canadian, and I believe in hockey, they do the 3 stars, right? At the end of the game?
They do.
So my 3 stars, in a losing effort, Io Sky, incredible performance, that was for you. Followed by Jacob Fatu. He is a star, a rising star, and a man, last but not least, a man I've been doubting for far too long, who is an incredible talent, Sami Zayn, for once again doing the unthinkable.
99 great things happened on today's show. One terrible thing happened, and I will remember that one terrible thing for a long time, because I'm going to have Drew McIntyre calling me, texting me, plotting his revenge for a long time. So that's the one thing that's going to stick in my mind.
Well, after what we saw from him on this very set earlier tonight, you may have to check in with him and calm him down a little bit. But you know, Big E, you know now you're going to have to do your 3 stars of the night every PLE post-show. Get Lee Fitting on the phone. I got a segment. I got a segment. All right, listen, we actually are officially out of time. But you already mentioned it. The weekend here in Toronto is not over for WWE. We've got NXT Heatwave taking over the city tomorrow night. It starts at 7. The countdown show starts at 6 o'clock Eastern time. And then I will be in, where are we going? Ottawa, Ontario for Monday Night Raw. Jey Uso is going to take on Chad Gable on Monday Night Raw. That match is official. Both of those two competing in the Money in the Bank ladder match here tonight, unsuccessfully so. They will go head-to-head in 48 hours in Ottawa, Ontario. Well, this marks the 10th premium live event to take place. Oh, we got more Monday Night Raw stuff. Breaking news, 6-woman tag team match. Damage Control taking on Lyra Valkyria and her
Carter and Chance, I love those two. What athletes, great acrobats.
Amazing, amazing match there. They've been feuding for a couple of weeks now. And you know what? I'm going to say thank you to the fans here inside Scotiabank Arena for hanging out with us for the entirety of this post-show for Money in the Bank. For Wade Barrett, Big E, and everybody here at WWE, I'm Jackie Redmond. Thank you so much for watching. That does it for this edition of the post-show. We will see you for the next version of this show in Cleveland, Ohio. SummerSlam coming up. It's around the corner, about a month away. But from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
We are in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, at the Scotiabank Arena, jam-packed and sold out tonight for Money in the Bank. Here comes the host of Money in the Bank, Toronto's own Trish Stratus.
Please welcome John farewell does not end tonight. It is filled with opportunity. If you want some, hurry up and come get some. Because the last time is now.
The goal is always to be the best. Make it to the top. But tell me, do you have what it takes to get there? From putting in the 100,000 to infinite hours, missing the meals and them showers, planting the seeds for the mission to blossom in the flowers. Only concern was every obstacle getting devoured, setting goals, never selling souls for that money and power. My blood, sweat, and tears spit this. I chose the path and studied my craft to get the skills for this.
Sami Zayn, the underdog from the underground. Many people believe that Sami is the underdog here tonight.
The product of 100,000 hours. I'm built for this. Never concerned with them giving me flowers. I'm built for this.
With all of Canada behind him, hello, Macaque!
Had to bet on myself and show my power. We going to the top. I'm built for this. That motion is non-stop. I'm built for this. So what's the next step? I'm built for this. Gotta show who's the best. I'm built for this. Never concerned with them giving me flowers. I'm built for this.
It is tipping time! Miss Money in the Bank!
I'm on the edge and I'm fighting for my life. I came to collect and you gon' pay the price.
Mr. Money in the Bank, Drew McIntyre, he's gonna cash in.
Put my back against the wall, I'm fighting my way out. If it's on, then it's on, ain't no place for a timeout. Yeah, the pressure is rising, but that's when the beats come out. What?
What the hell? Oh my God! That's CM Punk!
I'm on the edge and I'm fighting for my life. I never stop him to collect, you gon' pay the price. Yeah, you all in, your hope can get it right.
CM Punk has screwed Drew McIntyre again! Rollins is collateral damage in all this. It's our main event. And it's going to be a flat-out war.
This is my moment. This is my moment.
Oh my God, the official's dead.
This is my moment.
Through the damn table!
Moment of glory, moment of valor, moment of honor, the moment I tower. Over the competition devour. This is the moment they cower. This is my moment. This is my moment.
This has been a special presentation of WWE. For over 70 years, the global leader in sports and entertainment.